We race into the final Friday night of the month of June here at the Stafford Motor Speedway in Bonssa Tufa. It's one of my favorite nights of the year, the Midstate Site Development 30, extra distance event for the street stocks, and fireworks in the sky above the Stafford half mile.
Yeah, fireworks in more ways than one. It's always been a great crowd for this event because everybody loves fireworks. They'll come after the features, but yes, we have the street stock 30-lapper as well. The street stocks, they are always exciting. Everybody loves watching them go at it for 20 laps. Now they got 30, but the drivers have to deal with a hot Travis Hydar. Well, I guess hot is not the correct term. He finally got back to victory lane for the first time in like a month.
Yep.
But yeah, he's got 4 wins on the year, had a rough stretch, but he had a commanding win last week, which is why I said he was hot. He won by over a straightaway over Travis Downey. Once he took the lead, he was gone. So we'll see if anyone can keep up with him this time because nobody had anything for him last Friday.
He's either been really hot or really cold this year, and that's why he's 6th in the championship standings, even with those 4 wins, because those 2 off nights were really off.
And when he does win, Downey or Trott or Lafayette, whoever, they finish 1 or 2 positions behind him, so it's only a gain of 4 points, 6 points, or 2 points. It's going to be tough for Hydar, but he has a whole second half of the year to come. He's just got to stay consistent. The cold streaks with the bad finishes, just unfortunate luck. Fender damage one day, mechanical failure the other day. It's not like he had a wrecked race car, just enough for him to get out of the race, and when you finish back in 16th, 18th, while the others finish up front, those points add up really quickly. So if he can stay out of trouble, he'll inch his way back up there, and who knows, by October, we could see him as champion, but there's a lot of good drivers trying to prevent that from happening.
Including Travis Downey, who's having a career year with the win and 5 podium finishes in 7 events.
Consistency is key in every division, but especially in the street stocks, because as we talked about, the mulligans are few and far in between, but each mulligan can make a big difference in how the points total at the end of the year. We saw with Hydar, Downey already has 1 DNF this year. He was caught up in a lap 1 pileup off of 2. I don't think he can afford any more DNFs. You can't rely on other drivers to have trouble. That 42 is fast, but even he said it, we got to figure something out after last Friday because once he lost the lead to Hydar, there was no turning back for that 11.
In the limited late models, the streak continued. 7 races, 7 different winners. Last Friday night, a bit more dramatic than we had all hoped for, though.
Yeah, that last lap was madness. First up front with Hammond and Paradise. Paradise looking for his first win. Hammond looking for his second. Hammond gave Paradise a nudge. Then they made more contact. And then they just rubbed all the way down the front stretch. And Hammond ended up going around. The 28 crossed the line first, got black flag. So Paradise was put in victory lane for his first career limited late model win. 7 different winners in 7 races. That ties the limited late model record. We very much could break that record this Friday because there's a lot of drivers who haven't gotten a win yet this season that could. But going back to Paradise, he had that big wreck in the heat race a month ago, got the car put back together. The left side wasn't in the greatest of shape, but it still worked. And he got back to victory lane for the first time in a couple years back when he was racing street stocks. So congrats to that 19 team. It was quite the way to get there, but a win is a win. Talking about non-winners this year, first and foremost, Jeremy Lavoie, defending champion, he DNF'd last week. Got caught up in a couple incidents. His first DNF since Championship Night 2022, which is a night he'd like to forget, by the way, because that cost him the title. But Lavoie, they've been kind of hit or miss this season. We've seen him up front. We've seen him back in 5th or 6th. Not quite consistent this year for that 6 team, but with last week's DNF, if he makes the handicap, he'll start further up front. It's his best chance yet to get that win. Matt Winter has shown a lot of speed this year. Gary Padnote has shown speed. They haven't won a race either. We'll see what they can do, but there's a good chance we could see 8 different winners in 8 races, which would be a new division record.
And according to my research, the worst finish in the career of Jeremy Lavoie in the limited late models. Granted, we have a lot larger fields than what we had years ago, but
he's been
still
racing for a long time in that division, too.
Since 2015 in that division for Jeremy Lavoie. In the SK Lights, Nicholas Hovey's hot here in the last couple of weeks. 2 for 2 now over the last 2 feature events.
He capitalized on a couple of restarts because he started deep in the field. And when you're that far back, it's easy to get stuck. But once those cautions came out, especially the multi-car wreck in turn 1 with Beans, Brewer, Meg Fuller, Hovey made the most of it. Got to the front fairly quick once we got to the midpoint part of the race, took the lead from Bob Charland, and scores another SK Light victory. It took him a bit to get the first points-paying win, but you always say it, Kyle, the first win is the hardest one. After that, it comes a little bit easier. Hovey is showing that as of this moment. He's hot, but we've seen other drivers have good runs. Pearl back into the top 5. He just needs a little more luck finishing all 20 laps. I think he's got the speed. He's really looking for a victory. It's been a while for him. Bob Charland, second place run, first podium in over a year. He hasn't won in a long time. He led some laps. He was up there, had to settle for runner-up, but that is still a huge boost for that one team. But guys like Matt Brewer and Chris Vians, we saw them up front battling for the lead. When they got together, fell to the back of the field. But again, those two, they've had some really good cars this year. They just got to complete all the laps, and we could see them up there in the top 5 battling for the win.
And a tough night for the point leader, Tyler Chapman. His worst finish of the year, a 4th.
I guess it's over for him. We might as well crown a new champion at this point. It's not going to be Tyler Chapman. Yeah, that just shows how good that team has been. Even on an off night, in air quotes, he's finishing 4th. I think he got stuck in traffic as well because he's been starting 15th every week, it seems like, for the last 3 or 4 features. But we'll see him back up there soon enough. He won the first 3 races of the year, went on a streak of 5 consecutive victories. It'll be a matter of time before he's fighting for another one.
In the late models, it was a familiar name back in Napa Victory Lane, but it's been a while since he's been there.
Yeah, Al Saunders got the victory in the late models in pretty commanding fashion. He pulled away from everybody, even with defending champion Gambacorta behind him. Gambacorta could not reel him in. That's Saunders' first win since 2021. Granted, he hasn't raced full-time in a couple seasons, but he and his brother Cliff, who finished 3rd, by the way, they've been fast ever since they came back to the late models this year. Brand new race cars, and they've shown top 5 speed every single week. A big win for Saunders. Another podium finish for Gambacorta. He's finished podium every week so far this season. Cliff Saunders, another top 5 run. He missed 1 race, but besides that, he's been top 5 every start this season. Those 3 have been very fast. Paul Verrecchio Jr. had another good run. I think he got stuck back in traffic a bit. There was only 1 caution in the feature. So the same faces up front battling for the win. Gambacorta, Verrecchio, but now the Saunders boys are in action.
And in the SK Modifieds, it was Mike Christopher Jr. getting back to victory lane. Not once, but twice last Friday night, winning the Casella Waste Open 80, postponed from 2 weeks prior, and came back and won the Call Before You Dig Senators Cup for a 2nd consecutive year.
That's history because nobody's won an Open 80 and the SK feature on the same day until Mike Christopher Jr. did it on Friday. Back-to-back Senators Cup wins. He won it last year. Again this season, the only other driver to do that in 15 runnings is Jeff Bodine from way back in the 70s. Yeah, Michael knows how to come through in these big events, doesn't he? He's won them all. TC13, SK All-Star Showdown, SK 5K, Senators Cup twice. They know when to come through when it matters most. I guess it runs in the family. But Michael Christopher Jr. was very fast in both races. But in the SK specifically, he and Austin Beers had an awesome battle going back and forth. But once Christopher took the lead, nobody really had anything for him, even with the late restart with less than 5 laps to go. That's a big win for that team. It's been a little bit since we've seen them in victory lane. I mean, the last time they won was TC13 night in the 40-lapper on championship night. But they were off to a good start. They had that penalty in the beginning of the year, but they've been quietly a top 5, top 10 team for the most part this season. Just hadn't had enough to get to victory lane, but he showed it last Friday. We'll see if he can keep that up.
And speaking of quietly in the top 5, another quiet top 5 for Andrew Moeller, but had to climb out of a pretty deep hole early in the race.
Yeah, he got caught up in that turn 1, lap 3 melee that took out about 7 or 8 cars. Had some damage from it, had to pit because of that, but he fell to the back, came back forward. It's a good thing it was a 50-lap race and not 40 laps. He had more time to work with and still managed to continue his top 5 streak this season. That's why he's the point leader. Corey DiMatteo was quiet, but he had a solid top 10 run, I believe, so he's not too far behind Moeller in the standings. It's early to talk about points, but Moeller just keeps finding a way in that 85 team of making the most of whatever situation they're going through. It's only a matter of time before they hit victory lane, but the competition is still stiff. I mean, Jarvis got a season-best second-place run. Austin Beers, first Stafford podium, let alone SK Modifieds. He led laps, finished 3rd. Just a lot of good cars out there. I think when it comes to the end of the race, it was one of the more tame finishes, which it still was an exciting finish. We didn't have a last lap pass, sorry to disappoint, but it was still an exciting race. A bit of attrition. We had our share of accidents throughout the feature. David Arute got caught up in a wreck. Keith Rocco, 4-time champion, was out on lap 3. Jonathan Pulio was up front, got caught up in a wreck. So there was some attrition. Half the battle is surviving, but once you're there, anybody in that top 10 has a shot to win, and anything can happen.
Those are just some of the storylines heading into action this Friday night here at the Stafford Motor Speedway, featuring the Midstate Site Development 30 for the street stocks and fireworks above the Stafford Half Mile. Kick off your 4th of July week a little bit early this Friday night. All the action gets underway just after 6 o'clock. And like every week, if you can't be here, you can tune us in on Flow Racing.